Hello, I'm Denver Henderson, the Assistant Director of the Williams County Public Library, with another episode of Oddly Peculiar. A large part of the history and lore of our region is centered on the Black Swamp, sometimes called the Great Black Swamp. Several businesses and organizations in the region include the swamp in their name, and any tale of the early history of the region has to include a mention of it. But what was the Black Swamp, and how much of our county was a part of it? The name Black Swamp seems to be self-explanatory, a swamp that's black. However, the swamp was more than just what usually comes to mind when you hear the word swamp. First, it was massive. 3,072,000 acres covering roughly 2,000 square miles. It covered most of northwest Ohio, stretching into eastern Indiana and southeastern Michigan. The swamp was created by the recession of the Wisconsin Glacier 14,000 years ago, and the vast swamp was a mosaic of deciduous forests, wetlands, and prairies shaped by the terrain and drainage. Lower elevations hosted swamps with species such as ash, elm, cottonwood, and sycamore. Marshes, fens, wet meadows, and wet prairies were also present, especially along the Lake Erie shoreline east of Toledo. Slightly higher elevations hosted mesic species such as beech, maple, basswood, and tulip tree. Dry ridges, known as moraines, hosted upland species like oak and hickory. Wildlife abounded, with bear, wolf, badger, and deer being prolific. Early in the swamp's existence, it was home to mastodons, and the fossil record of these beasts is extraordinary. Indigenous peoples settled in the swamp some 11,000 years ago and created a thriving culture and made use of the natural environment through hunting, fishing, and even cultivating the wild rice that grew in the marshes and wetlands. In the early 19th century, white immigration came to the Black Swamp and changed it irrevocably. Trees were harvested for lumber, and in the 1850s, draining the swamp began in earnest. Through ditches and canals, fens, marshes, and swamps slowly began to disappear and be converted to farmland. Great stands of hardwood were felled for the timber industry and local construction. By the end of the 1880s, the Black Swamp no longer existed. The indigenous people had been forcibly removed, and the ecology had fundamentally changed. The land that emerged from the swamp was used to create a massive agriculture industry that today yields $3 billion in crop profit and $1 billion in livestock profit. A huge consequence of draining the natural wetland and generational large-scale farming has been the runoff into Lake Erie, creating toxic algae blooms from time to time. Some of the Black Swamp remains in oak openings and Gall's Wood, both in Fulton County, and recovery and reclamation efforts continue to try to bring to life some of the great diversity of plant and wildlife that existed before drainage. These patches of natural wonder amidst the agricultural monoculture are beautiful sights to behold. And what of Williams County? Can we lay claim to being part of the Black Swamp? Most of Williams County was not part of the swamp. Springfield Township was part of the border wetlands and fens of the swamp, as were parts of Brady and Pulaski Township. While the county did benefit from the water of the swamp, which created a vast aquifer and artesian wells, and the rich soil left by the receding glacier, much of the county lay outside the deep swamp. But still, we can lay claim to the Black Swamp in both our agriculture and our culture. The swamp shaped early life in Williams County as deeply as it did those areas that were in the heart of it. Through memory, fossils, stories, art, and culture, the Black Swamp has an impact on us still, a fact that is profound, thrilling, and oddly peculiar.